Now, I am often accused of playing with computers. And that's no real surprise if you think about what I do. I mean, I spend most of my life either 3D printing or doing videos. And that basically means I need a halfway decent setup. And of course, a halfway decent setup can be one of two things. It can be an incredibly expensive computer, or it can be a much cheaper computer and a better operating system. And by better, I mean one that's more stable, one that can handle a huge amount of data processing that the system's going to do, and one that is efficient in the uses of its resources. Of course, if you're talking like that and thinking like that, what you're thinking of really is Linux. Of course, that does mean I've got to get my favourite programs onto Linux and then learn the little ins and outs of using them. And the first one, when it comes to 3D printing, is the slicer. The slicer is that piece of software that takes the STL file and converts it into commands that the printer can understand. It's a bit like a Word document. When you type up a Word document and send it to print, it can't actually print from the Word document. What Word does is translates it into a series of commands that run the printer and you get your printout. It's the same thing with 3D printing. The STL file is a graphic representation of the model that you've just built. The printer can't understand that. The slicer turns that into a set of commands, moving the head backward and forward, timing the extrusion of the plastic, that sort of stuff, so that a physical print can be made by commands that the physical printer understands from the STL file that you did the drawing in. That's the job of the slicer software. Unsurprisingly, Linux has its own set of slicers. Mango 3D do something called a lychee slicer, and if you have a look on there, you'll see that the Elegoo's are all supported by Mango 3D through their lychee slicer. The slicer I favour is Cura. So of course what I want to know is, how do you get Cura to work on Linux? So turns out it's really easy. Linux has come a long way since the dark days when it was the realm of the techno-nerd. It's now just another operating system, so to install a package on it, all you do is click down on the menu bar. Now I'm using Linux Mint 21.2 Cinnamon. Enter your password, click Authenticate, and up will come your package manager. Then you type what you're looking for in the search bar, and in this case of course we're looking for Cura, and then we search. This is one of the things that people like about Linux. It will always ask you for a password for everything that you do, and that's one of the reasons that it's so much more secure and less prone to virus attack. Scroll down to Cura, click on it, and then click on Apply, and it will automatically update all the packages and everything else you need to support your selection. That's it, and the next time you click on the menu bar, Cura will be there. Now when you start the Cura, it's Ultimaker Cura, so it's generic, and we need to add a printer because we're going to put the Elegoo Neptune 4 Pro on here, and we click Add a Printer. Now we do non-network printers, we'll have a scroll list available to us, and if we're lucky then the printer we're using is on that scroll list, but if it's new like the Neptune 4 then it's not going to be. So what we need to do is choose Custom. And it's here where we can add the name of our printer, and let's put in Elegoo Neptune 4 Pro and click Next. And it'll ask us for these settings, so we need to replace these settings with some other settings to make this thing work, like the start G code and the end G code. And these are the code settings that we need. Now I'll copy and paste these into the description bar below so you've got them available to you. And if we go to the extruder, we also need to make some extruder changes, and these are the extruder changes that we need to make. When you've done that, save it, and that will be your custom printer. And it will now appear in the drop down bar. To test this works, of course, we want something to print, so we do exactly what we did before. We can select the file from the file drop-down list, and I've created a hook to hold up the Christmas stockings against the fireplace, because they keep dropping off and you can't put a drawing pin in the fireplace. So we can select that, and we're going to print it in generic PLA and set the usual settings that we want to set. Because it's a Neptune 4, so we can increase the speed from 60 to say 120. Then we can slice it and save it to file. Then we can take it over to the printer and print it as per normal. So there you go, how to set up Cura on Linux and how to set up the Cura itself for the Elegoo 4. Now I'm keen to do this because I want to show you how inexpensive it can be. I'm running Linux incidentally on a Dell Precision T5600, it's an X server. Now I'm running it on that, and the reason I've chosen Linux is because Linux is renowned for making the best use out of older equipment and making older equipment do some work it wouldn't necessarily do, and I'm adapting that server so I can run DaVinci. And if you know about DaVinci, then you'll know it's pretty difficult to run on anything but super expensive computers. And I plan on running it for something that cost me £100 from eBay. So you can do this stuff without a huge amount of expense, and it's never as frightening as perhaps you might once have thought. Anyway, perhaps we'll do some more playing around with computers. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and thank you very much for watching.